Welcome inside the Toyota Lounge, brought to you by your local Denver Toyota dealers. Toyota, the official sponsor of not only Avs, but DNVR. We're talking roster battles as we get set to kick off training camp. Glad to have you along with us today. Hanging at the bar, the DNVR Lounge at the DNVR Bar in Colfax. Nick Gismondi with you. Gizmo here. Rudo, Biggie, and AJ gracing us with his presence you're here for a while, right?
Yeah, I'm here for a couple of weeks.
Let's go. So AJ hanging out. Say what's up. Give us some love in the Toyota chat. And we've got some fun stuff to talk about today. Obviously, Rudo, I know you always like to start with the news, so
yep.
I kind of want the opinion on everybody on what in the heck is happening in Boston with Swaymen. I mean, yikes. We talked about it a little bit today already this morning over some coffee, but did he shoot himself in the foot?
Oof. I mean, look, contract holdouts aren't real until training camp starts, right?
Also, you can't hold out if you don't have a contract.
Well, you kind of can.
Oh, God.
Marner did it a couple years ago, sort of. But
Just saying, you can't really.
You're not holding out, I guess. But
It's like calling a game scoreless when it's 0-0. It has a score. Nobody's just scored.
But the point is, I don't think anyone starts to worry about an unsigned contract until training camp starts. And does media day count as training camp? Close enough, right? From what has been out there, they're not particularly close. Can you solve that gap in 2 weeks? I don't know.
I mean, I saw a comment that says we hope he's signed by December 1st.
The GM is like December 1st.
It's a little ominous.
This is where I'll jump in. And, as much as Cal Ritchie is, checking boxes, right? Rookie camp, training camp, preseason games. It's the same thing now in this negotiation. The first trigger point was what? Today. Training camp. Whoop. The box is not checked. The next one is what?
Preseason
You start
game?
playing games. All of a sudden, you don't have your roster, so you have to, the next trigger point is the official start to the season. Whoop. We'll see if he's there. I'm predicting he won't be there. And then the third box, before you get to the fourth box of December 1st. Why December 1st? We all know that because of Ryan O'Reilly. We educated ourselves back then, right? If you're not signed by then, you can't play that season. So that's the fourth box. The third box will be, let's see if they win. Winning cures everything. So now you're playing that game, the cat and mouse game. So you're hoping, technically, you don't hope your team loses games, but if you lose games, it puts a lot of pressure on the team. If you're winning a lot of games, it's putting a lot of pressure on the player. Oh, we don't need you. I don't care what they tell you. That's how it works. And it's a freaking slippery slope right now. Again, we don't know what's been said, but it sure doesn't sound like they're pretty close to an agreement. So, and again, they had to trade Ullmark beforehand.
I'm curious where the breakdown was there because they were pretty ready to get rid of Ullmark, which I knew they had tried to move him already anyway. Yeah. But you have to think they at least were confident about getting something done with Swaymen to move on from him.
Yeah, so where's the breakdown and when's the panic?
Well, I mean, the breakdown is they had to trade Ullmark because of his no-trade clause, so it was going to kick in at whatever it was that day, so at the draft, and that's why they traded him at that time. And then it's not like they put the horse in front of the cart. They had to, and then you're assuming you'll be able to sign Swaymen, but it just hasn't happened yet. So, now all of a sudden, Korpisalo might be your starter, and he hasn't done well in a couple. Hey, listen, I would be frustrated if I think the player wants to be there too. As a player, you don't want to miss training camp. So it's both sides to everything. It stinks for the team. It stinks for the coaches. It stinks for the GM not to see the player there, and it stinks for the player not to be there.
It's kind of a high wire act, too, because if they get into games and Boston's had elite goaltending for 15 years, and Jonas Korpisalo is the Jonas Korpisalo we've seen more often than not in his career, Boston's going to be like, well, we don't like this very much at all. What do we do? And that increases the pressure on them to give in to Swayman's demands. But if they roll in there and Korpisalo gets into the Boston goaltending machine and they spit out another .920 goaltender, all of a sudden Swayman's leverage is going to go away real fast.
So who's got the upper hand right now?
I think the team always does.
Ultimately,
in a situation like this, I think it's the team that always does.
I agree, AJ.
But I mean, you're really playing with fire. And you're playing with fire, not in just the first 15 games or whatever, but that's a long-term relationship with the guy that fits your ethos as an organization so well. You know, that swagger, that grit, the grind, the way that he is, the way that he carries himself. He's a Boston Bruin. You're going to piss that guy off? But also, they've had elite goaltending for 15 years. Why are they going to give $9 million to that guy?
Well, and listen, again, I'm not talking on their behalf, but you have to just look at the whole scheme of things. Like, he's never been a number one. I don't care what people say. He's been a tandem goalie for a couple years. You don't know how he's going to respond. Now, if you were telling me right now, and I have to give you an answer, and I have to bet my house and my life on it, I would tell you that he's going to be a great number one goalie, meaning he doesn't need to be a tandem guy, and he can carry the load for 60 games or so. But with that said, he's never done it. So there's always that question mark. So
I know we love him here, but do we love him so much that just for fun, would you move Georgiev in a deal and try and get him and give him $9 million?
If the cap didn't exist, maybe.
I mean, let's just assume that one of those guys isn't going to play because.
Okay, listen, you want my answer? I would do it. I absolutely love the player.
Okay.
But can they do it? I mean, that's what I'm trying to say. There's a lot of gymnastics to be done there.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of gymnastics to be done. But do I think this is happening? I think as a GM, you have to look at every avenue possible. I think you're not doing your job if you're not looking into everything. Can C-Mac and company do it? I don't know how you do it. Again, this is not my expertise.
You move Georgiev, you move Colton, you put Richie as 3C, and Swayman's your number one goalie.
I don't think.
Congratulations.
You're hired.
Being a GM is so easy from this couch.
The more we cover this conversation, though, the more I lean into the Avs style of thinking of trying to be cost efficient at that position. There is really, in my adult life, probably one goaltender I would really be willing to pay that level of money, and that was prime Andrei Vasilevsky.
Come on, you're not looking at Shesterkin or Sorokin, some of those guys?
Not yet.
Hellebuck?
Shesterkin, maybe. Look,
right.
after the last 3 years of playoffs, I'm not paying Hellebuck.
I get it. I get that. I'm just saying. All right. I was just curious. It's not a conversation I think that's rooted in reality. Yeah. I was just curious what the appetite for because I love Jeremy Swayman personally, so I'm just like
I think he's great too at $7 million.
Yeah, okay. All right.
I think he's also playing off of the emotions too a little bit. He knows he's popular. He knows he's well liked. Listen, guys trying to gamble on himself. I just don't know if that's the right play.
Again, it's a fascinating movie to keep watching as the training camp unfolds here for every team. But I tell you one thing: you have a prominent guy, and he's not there for training camp. Yeah. It's a blow. I don't care what it just is, and it's a distraction. You got to feel for Monty and Joe Sacco and the rest of the guys there and Donnie Sweeney because and the player himself too. I'm not taking sides here. I'm just saying you're trying to have one common goal and you're just not there. It's a weird feeling. It's weird. It's weird.
And the Mikko Rantanen contract stalemate season where he played as well as he did immediately after signing, that's a rarity. Usually there are guys that struggle when the longer this goes on, the harder it becomes for them to get into the flow of it.
I agree.
Well, you try to remind people about this all the time. There is a human factor. These guys are not just machines. They're not just, they're not robots. So things like this, finances, uncertainty, it affects you. It can't not. And I think you see that a little bit, and I think that's what you're getting at.
Yeah. There is no replacement for playing NHL games. Doesn't matter how good you are.
Yeah.
When you start missing NHL games and then you try to drop back in.
Yep.
Tough.
And all that Rudo.
Yep. Hockey shape is different shape.
I'll add to it, sorry, is there's no replacement for NHL practices.
Yep.
Getting shots from Pasternak, getting shots from, like all that kind of stuff. What's he going to do? Is he going to pack his stuff and go home somewhere, or is he going to go practice down the street with Max and BU? I don't know, But he's going to get on the ice, but it's not the same thing. It's not the same.
It's also a little different when you're working on your own, or obviously, no offense to BU, but working at BU out on your own, and you're not not in the Bruins facility where they have been one of the few organizations that has churned out elite goaltending for 15 years, regardless of goaltender.
Goalie
you know,
Bob.
I mean, Tim Thomas just comes in off the street and puts up all-time great numbers, and Tuukka Rask, and on and on and on, right?
Just like in Philly, you know?
Just churning out. Yeah, exactly. The exact spiritual opposite of Philadelphia.
Oh, crap.
I hope it works out because I do like the player.
Yeah.
I really do like the player. I like the personality. Obviously, I think he's very good. I hope it works out, and I hope it works out sooner because obviously it's taking a toll, personally as well. And I think, sometimes I tend to lean towards that. So I hope the personality, and I hope the person gets what they want, and I hope it works out for Swaymen because I think he's a good dude. Any last thoughts on it?
I hope it works out because it's hilarious to watch them beat the Leafs in the first round every year.
Or it might affect our predictions. They're coming up soon. You know what I mean? I mean, again, that's a major piece of their team.
Well,
if you're telling me he's not there till December 1st, maybe I'd change my mind. I don't know on where they finish.
The East has like 12 teams that I think you could talk yourself into being real playoff teams.
Yeah.
So them wandering around in the dark with Jonas Korpisalo,
I don't know.
that's a hell of a gamble. I don't know that I would do that.
See.
The Boston Bruins drama with an original 6 to start things off. Just one other piece of news. I really like the captaincy announcement of Folino. I think a lot of people thought it was going to be Connor Bedard in Chicago. And I think it eventually will be Connor Bedard in Chicago. The kid is a leader, but Folino, ironically, is like big brother / dad to Bedard. So I think that was put in place for a reason. And we can just touch on it briefly, but it is news because it's a new captain in Chicago for the first time in a long time.
Well, we talk about Gabe back then at that time. I think we had done it because it was the right. It might have not been the best moment for Gabe at the time in the sense that he was still young and he was 19, but it was the right thing to do. And I think, no offense to anybody, but I think the Folino being there for a couple of years now, I think it's an easy transition, for him to learn.
Yeah.
And, I think it works well. And what else did I read, too? I just want to throw that out there. Testicular cancer.
Dakota Joshua?
Dakota Joshua.
Yeah.
Best of luck to him. We all know it's
Tough.
It's a tough situation, but I'm sure he's going to be back in no time and ready to go. And he was a big piece of Vancouver last year, so good luck to him.
Big piece.
All right, well, let's get to the actual topic of the day, and that is, of course, what we can try to maybe expect from training camp as the Avs get it kicked off. Media day later, we'll head down and hear the guys talk, but then tomorrow is really when it gets kicked off. Of course, we'll be coming to you from Family Sports Center up down there in Centennial. We've got some special guests lined up, so make sure you are obviously sticking with us all week as we get ready for the hockey season to really kick off here. But let's start with the battle for the bottom 6, and we'll get started with this before we take that quick pause. But there's a lot going on there. AJ, I loved your article that you threw up today.
Thank you.
I think all of that, makes complete and total sense. And I'm actually completely in agreement with you on pretty much everything you said. The biggest thing I want to take away is, obviously, everybody talking about Ritchie. Where do we legitimately think he slots in? And I love the fact that there are some options for him because he is versatile.
Yeah, I think with Ritchie, it's almost dependent on Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, because if Bellemare can keep up and he can skate at the level that the Avs are looking for,
which I think he can, by the way.
If that's going to be the case, he should be the 4C. I want him as the 4C. Mm-hmm. And then you're starting to have the conversation of, okay, do you want to give him a couple of games at center? Right now, they're without Arturi Lehkonen, no Gabe Landeskog, no Val Nichushkin. They've got wing spots that are open. So that is, with Cal Ritchie, I'm not looking at starting him at 4C if Bellemare's going to be there. And I'm looking at maybe you have Ross Colton move up to wing in your top 6.
I love that.
He was a top 6 wing in Tampa Bay when they were having injury issues. He did the exact same thing. He was quite successful. That's the player that the Avalanche traded for initially. He had a good first year as a 3C last year, but has been a wing more often in his NHL career. We know he can do that job. Would you rather have Ross Colton do that job, or would you rather have Cal Ritchie do that job? And then you can have Cal Ritchie in between Logan O'Connor and Miles Wood.
Yep.
You don't really have like a defensive stopper third line, but for the first 10 games of the regular season, you don't really need one. That's not how you're playing your roster to start the year. You're just trying to figure out who you are at that point. So I would start with Ritchie. I would try and look him either in that 3C spot or move him into a top 6 wing.
Well, Rudo, I want to get what you're betting on in just a moment. But first, I want to talk about Bet365, who is never, ever ordinary. Whatever the moment is, Bet365 is, well, they're there for you. They got it. Because every day they power up the odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more than over 10,000 boosts every single month. They boost specific markets, your winnings, and even parlays. So make sure you keep an eye out for custom DNVR bets and boosts. Some really exciting stuff coming up with the NHL. They've got early payouts, which is really fun. So you're a winner if your team gains a 3-goal lead, which I can tell you the Avs will probably do more than a few times this year. You get instant payouts on straight bets and parlay selections marked as winners. Download the app and use code DNVR365 when you sign up. There's a couple of really cool different options when you do so. I did it the other day. I made a $5 bet. I got 200 in bonus bets. I lost the $5 bet. Bet the next day with the $200 bet and ended up making $250. So give it a go. I went with the bet and get offer. And like I said, you place that $5 bet, you get $200. But they also have a first bet safety net. So if you bet up to $1,000 and if your qualifying bet loses, you receive a matched refund in bonus bets. Please remember you must be 21 plus and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
$1,000 safety net. Miko to score the first goal for the season for the Avs. Easy.
Boom. Ooh, see, there you go. Already throwing out hot takes, and I love it. It's not even a hot take.
But also, keep in mind,
That's such a good bet.
as we go into training camp, there are people fighting for battles, but it is also time to chill a little bit. We're not into the regular season yet. We're not into these season-making decisions here. If someone like Cal Ritchie maybe doesn't make it right away, he'll be back at the end of the season. Don't worry about it. You can chill. And the beer to have while you're chilling is Coors Light. It's the beer literally made to chill. The mountains turn blue on the can or the bottle, brewed right here in Colorado. And you don't even have to go get it. You can get it right at your front door with CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Thanks to Instacart today. It's that easy. Why even get up off the couch? You know me. I'm a lazy guy. I don't want to go out and get beer. I want it to be delivered to me. So that's the way I get my Coors Light. Make sure you're jumping on the chill train as well. Go get yourself some Coors Light today. Of course, please drink responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Has anybody just tried to crush the bucket of Coors Lights that's just tastily sitting on the table? I mean, should we just maybe the next show just casually start to rip through those?
Reserved for watch-alongs.
Watch-alongs.
Watch-alongs, we do that?
Rudo's the record. He
All
did
right.
4 buckets one game. Whole bucket. 4.
Who carried him out? Was it you or AJ?
Yeah.
No.
No,
He ran.
If I do
He
that, all
ran
those
it.
people saying we're
Yeah.
drunk idiots might be right on that.
That's definitely a Bruto night.
He's back.
Carrying on with that bottom 6 center battle. What's your take on it? I mean, I really like the idea of trying to insulate him early and see what he's got. I liked what I saw from Cal Ritchie. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. I think the test is going to be, can he shift gears effortlessly and be at NHL speed?
Yeah, so I really don't think the conversation is that complicated. I think AJ, what he mentioned is pretty much the ideal start, knowing that Lehkonen won't be ready for game 1 of the season. Bellemare is the 4C, assuming he can do it. Ritchie is the 3C. The only other options they have are Chris Wagner, who, if Chris Wagner's your 4C and Bellemare's your 3C, your bottom 6 is looking pretty rough.
Lordy.
Looking pretty rough at that point. Andre Pavel, who I think is just a
Your
little
top
bit...
line playing 29 minutes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Pavel probably a little bit too far down the depth chart. And they've dabbled with Ritchie Polin at center a little bit, but really he's a winger. They can't keep doing this stuff with centers that can't actually take faceoffs.
And he's good on the wing because of his physicality
Agreed.
in the corners. And, that wing kind of calls for a little bit of a leadership spot sometimes. I like the way he played in L.A.
But where they are in a little bit of a tough spot here, AJ mentioned the Colton thing. They have to be willing to move him to wing to free up that 3C spot for Cal Ritchie. And I really do think Ritchie needs the 3C spot because of what we saw at the rookie faceoff. Ritchie did not play a single second on the penalty kill. And it's really, really hard to get ice time as a 4C if you're not playing on the penalty kill. And you know at the NHL level, Ritchie is not going to get power play time with the guys they have at the top of that lineup. He has to be in the 3C for it to really be worth it for him to get those quality NHL opportunities. And don't get me wrong, Ritchie has to earn that. But it's pretty easy to see the path for him to get there.
And Ritchie's skilled enough to play a wing spot, but I think when you're putting him in a center position in the NHL, or if he is making an NHL roster, he needs to be in a spot that he's ultra comfortable and familiar with. And then after that, he can adapt a little bit.
I do think beyond that, the Avs just have too many other wing options to really be moving him to wing.
It's also battle scars from the Alex Newhook experiment.
True.
Where we kept talking about, we got to give him reps at center, and then he'd get reps at center and he would struggle, and Bednar would be like, well, he's not very good at this. I'm going to move him to the wing now. And then he would move him to the wing, and then he'd be like, well, he wasn't good enough at center. What do you want? I don't have any centers. And it was like Jared Bednar's unwillingness to live through the young guy bumps and bruises at center was a frustration. And now how much of that is Alex Newhook is actually a wing in the NHL? And different players, very different players. But if they're going to do that, they have to do it. You have to commit to a route.
Agreed.
You cannot have 1 foot in the bucket on every plan that you try and use with Cal Ritchie. Have a plan and then let it ride. You're going to give him a 9-game trial and then go from there. Great. Give him 9 games at 3C, or give him 9 games as a wing in your top 6. Whatever it's going to be, stick with it. Let it, unless it is an absolutely Riley Tufte level disastrous experiment, don't do that. Don't have 1 foot in the bucket every time that you try something with him. Let him get some kind of comfort level. Learning to fail and then figure it out. Adversity is a huge part of staying in the NHL.
Look, if you gave Tufte 5 games, you can give Ritchie 9. Like, come on.
Well, here's what I'll add to it. I'm looking forward to seeing what he brings to the table. Like we always say, make him make decisions. It starts in practice. We all know they don't do a lot of scrimmage, and so it's going to be a lot of like situational stuff and system stuff and 3-on-3 down low, and how do you adapt? How are your reads? And coaches that have been there so long, i.e. the Avalanche coaching staff, will be able to watch and say, okay, it's registering. I don't know if it's registering or it's not registering. So it starts in practice, then it's going to go right on to the preseason games. I think what you do with them, and this is what I would do, take a page out of the Dallas Stars and Wyatt Johnson, and like when he came in, and give him a veteran guy like Logan O'Connor, like what you guys have been saying, and that's isolate him that way, give him responsible, and I'm glad AJ's right here, and I'm going to use this term, adults with them. You know what I mean? And you don't necessarily have to give them Mikko Rantanen or that. Learn how to play a little bit, but be yourself as well. This guy can carry the puck. He can make plays. And so go be yourself. I don't think he's a 4C. I'll say it again. People think it's easy. It is not. Go play 6, 7, 8 minutes. That's why you got Pierre-Edouard Bellemare. I'll be looking in training camp, crossing my fingers that he still got it. And he's still able to get out there and play those 6, 7 minutes that are so hard to do, but still be involved on the bench. And it's hard for Cal Ritchie to be involved on the bench and to talk. You've never been in the NHL. Like, what are you going to say? So you kind of fall asleep a little bit. But Belly can go out there, Bellemare, and then just do his thing. And, obviously, I'm not saying Bellemare is a better player than Cal Ritchie is, though. I'm saying we all know that. You just slot in the right positions.
He's probably a better fourth-line center, though.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
And
that's
but
overall
an
player.
important distinction here.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's we're not saying things out of our minds here. It all makes sense. And I think if you surround them well, if you protect them that way, then I think you can let the kid breathe a little bit and have the less. And again, you're getting the dog ice at times, right? Or you're playing against this. You're not playing against the top end guys. You're playing against the third pair Ds and the fourth line and third line. So that's where you can have success.
Someone in the Toyota chat asking about Ritchie's face-offs as well. Yeah. When it comes to important ones, they just won't have Ritchie take them.
Right. Not a chance.
Also, how good is he at face-offs? He's going to be a 19-year-old who's never played in the NHL. He's going to be bad.
Right.
Guys are so good.
There are very, very, very few players who are good at face-offs their first year. A lot of the guys that you look at are great face-off guys nowadays. Got rocked when they were young. You have to learn to get better at it.
Well,
and
it's a
that
timing.
first year, he's like, for me, I'm like, go out and be 47%, and I will be perfectly
If he
fine
gets
with
to
that.
47, we're good.
Yeah, it's like 47%. There's hope.
But there's nothing wrong with Bellemare taking the face off. You win, get in the draw, get puck possession, you switch. You see that all the time.
Yeah,
all of
he
a sudden
can be your-
Ritchie's back with his line, and it's going. It's all good. It's all about puck possession. Again, now if you don't win the draw, then you spend your whole shift in your own end. It's not fun. But there's nothing wrong with sending Bellemare, guys, or whoever it's going to be, and then you switch on the fly and go. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to see how interactive Pebs is with Ritchie. I mean, I've seen
Yeah.
him. He was Pierre. We had Pierre in Vegas, and he was very, very good with the young guys in terms of working on them, working with them on face-offs and things like that. Because Pierre Edouard was very good at them, and I think that's easily one of the we've talked about this at length, but one of the reasons why they brought him in. So
Yep.
maybe there's some coachability options there for him also, and I think that's probably something I want to keep an eye on.
It's actually a great point. Tomorrow, when the groups open, I'm going to be keeping an eye on is
Bellemare
Bellemare in the
stapled to
same
Ritchie,
group
yeah.
with Ritchie, so that when they finish and they're all kind of like lingering around the ice, messing around.
Yep.
Does he go and target that and say, "All right, I'm going to go try and work with the kid on some things"?
I hope that happens because I think that could be real beneficial for him, and just knowing the personality of Pierre Edouard, and then sort of getting to know a little bit of the reserved quietness that Cal Ritchie had at the rookie faceoff. I
Yeah.
think that Pierre Edouard can kind of pull that out of him a little bit too. So a lot of different areas there. Okay, the wing battle is also something that is
There's a lot of names in
There's
the wing
a
battle.
lot of names.
I put together a roster for TIFF just for the sake of having one that we can put up on screen.
Okay.
And it is 100% inaccurate, but it gives you an idea of where they are with no Arturi Lehkonen.
You know what? This is why we're going to get along so great, because I was going to ask you for a projected lineup at some point this week, and I love this.
This is, I mean, you look at this, Parker Kelly and Nikolai Kovalenko on that second line. And,
Yeah.
like, these are just, like, guys that I put in places. But this tells you where they are right now with no Arturi Lehkonen. It just goes to show you whatever order or combination you want to use of some of those guys. If you want to replace, Cal Ritchie's not even on that roster. If you replace Yuri Inala with Cal Ritchie, do you feel a million times better about it? No.
I don't know. I feel quite a bit better if you put Ritchie at 3C and put Colton into one of those top 6 wing spots.
If you put him into Parker Kelly's spot here,
you start to feel a little better.
and then maybe move LOC up there, because Kovalenko, are you really? I don't know.
I'm not expecting.
I
him to
don't.
be in the
I
top
just.
6,
I
but-
don't. I don't know is the
Yeah.
thing, and that was. It's hard to convey in a projected lineup of. This uncertainty is striking.
Well, and look at the uncertainty there. Kelly going to be in that battle. Kovalenko going to be in that battle. Inala going to be in that battle. Kiviranta going to be in that battle. Wagner would certainly be willing to play a winger spot
Yeah.
if the opportunity presents it.
I didn't put Bellemare just because he doesn't have a contract
No,
yet.
sure.
And that's the
Totally
only reason.
fine.
No, and that's the way
but
you
then
should
even
do it.
Yeah.
not on this list, you have a Jason Polin, you have an
Yeah.
Oscar Olausen, you have a John-Luc Foudy. The Avs have
Andre Pavel.
Yeah, you're seriously talking about 10 forwards that are going to be which one earns it most, and some have a more opportunity than others to get in the lineup,
Yeah.
but it's going to be crowded.
Yeah.
It's tough math too.
And then on the bottom of that defense, Shillington, Brandstrom, DeHaan, Malinsky, for those bottom two pairings, they're almost entirely interchangeable.
Yep.
Well, Wayne in the Toyota chat does make a good point. And, hey, Wayne, we talked about this yesterday. The answer is no. So.
Yep.
Can you read
moment.
what Wayne? It
Not
was
yet.
Wayne's because I can't read.
Oh, yeah. Has anyone seen Shillington?
Well, I guess maybe today's. I don't know. We'll
I
see.
mean, today's
I
a
would
good-
say at Media Day, that question should probably get asked
it'll
this
be
afternoon.
asked. Yeah, it'll be asked.
Yeah, someone will ask it.
You think anybody will ask about Landeskog or Cheesecake? You think that'll come up? Or should I earmark those? to
This
throw out
feels
there?
super likely. I can't wait for the non-answer of like, hey, we'll see.
I don't know. Gabriel, who again? What was the name? I don't. We'll see. I don't know. Oh, I'll make a phone call. I can tell you that no matter how this thing plays out, the future is very bright for these Colorado Avalanche. So bright that you might need some Shady Rays
Ooh.
sunglasses. At this point, I'm just trying to keep up with you on the transitions because I watch you do it now, and I'm just like, well, let's just figure out how to do it. Oh, yeah. Eric Lacroix.
Looking
You got to wear
good.
those the rest of the show. My gosh, it's like a blues brother.
Coach
Get
Brian
ready
Lowe?
for the season ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. They're an independent sunglass company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. 5 stars, E?
5 stars.
5 stars, says Eric Lacroix. Listen, sunglasses are such an essential part of like the day-to-day. I wear them a ton. Look at AJ's now in on it. I love it. I mean, look at you guys. You guys could be like Bash Brothers.
We
On
are.
a mission from God over there. Yeah.
A mission from God. Oh, everybody's going with these. These are the ones you picked for me?
You want to trade?
All right, I like these. No, I'm going to give them a go. I mean, let's go.
Damn, you look like you should be playing beach volleyball in jeans.
I could throw some dog tags on, take the shirt off after I, get into a little bit of better shape. But these are fantastic. They are obviously super comfortable. They are very durable. I like a good pair of sunglasses that I'm not afraid to throw in my backpack, too. I travel, obviously, a lot. So anything that I know is dependable and reliable, that isn't going to break the bank, that I'm not afraid to just kind of use, you know what I mean? Like, I want to actually use them and wear them. Shady Rays is the way to go. Exclusively for, well, what do you got, Age? Yeah?
For the record,
Yeah?
27-hour drive to Denver. I
Yeah.
wore my pair of Shady Rays for probably 20-ish of those hours.
There you go.
Wonderful. Wear them every day.
Did you even feel them on your face? Probably not. They're light.
Well, I wear glasses on top of glasses, so,
Maybe you felt them a smidge.
felt them just
All right.
a touch, but I got it pretty well figured out at this point.
You felt them a little bit. Listen, this is just for our listeners. Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. If you head to shadyrays.com and use code DNVR, you'll get 35% off a pair of polarized sunglasses. Try them for yourself. The shades that are rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people.
AJ, I got 2 questions for you.
I might have answers.
What's Kovalenko's nickname?
I don't know. I
Will
don't.
Tank.
Okay.
Second question: what are your odds you think he makes the roster? Not the lineup. What are the odds you think he makes the opening night lineup?
98%.
That's very high. You want to get to 100% though?
Yes.
You need the big tank. That's the Toyota Tundra. All right. Make sure you're going and getting yourself a Toyota
He's so
today. Jump in on your local Front Range Toyota stores. They've got vehicles for everyone, not just the big tank. They've got SUVs. They've got sedans. Yeah, that's the word.
They have
Sedans.
those, yeah.
They do have those.
They
They've
have
got
them, yeah.
17 different all-wheel drive vehicles if you're going off-roading or going up to the trails. They've got 16 different hybrid vehicles, which is more than anybody else in the class. So if you want to be eco-friendly, Toyota is the way to go. Whatever type of car you're looking for, Toyota has you covered as the official vehicle of DNVR and the official vehicle of the Colorado Avalanche. So maybe Covey can become the official car of the Avs on the ice or something. I don't know.
Hell
I don't
yeah.
know where I'm going with that one. What I do know is you should go to your local Toyota stores, including AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe, Centennial, Corwin Toyota, and Boulder, Groove Toyota, and Littleton, Mountain States Toyota, and Denver, Stevenson Toyota East, and Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Get with the official vehicle of the Colorado Avalanche.
Good job, buddy. You're always good with
Feels
it.
nice to be on the other end of some alley-oops like that. It's been a while, man. It's been a while.
Some real alley-oops.
AJ, you are getting so much love in the Toyota chat. It warms my heart, man. That's really awesome.
It is nice to know that it was 8 years well spent.
8 years, not even done yet. You're still going. I want to actually, you know what? I should have done this yesterday when you came on first time, and we will get back to just kind of wrapping up that wing battle. But what do you want to say to the gang? You're getting so much love. I feel like it's got to be, the attention has to be. You gotta give them a little love.
No, I appreciate everybody reaching out and saying nice things, and when I was teasing that I was going to be back in Denver and on the shows and stuff, it's been really cool. It's always heartwarming to know that, you help build up the community, and the community is now in turn helping build me up, making me feel loved and appreciated. And it's amazing. I love that. And, I know somebody in chat asked, how things are. It's been great.
Yeah.
The move is great. I really love Connecticut. It's really kind of what my soul needed. So It's been wonderful so far, but I am excited to be here for training camp. I missed the first rookie camp since 2008. It's the first time I had not been to one, and it felt really weird and uncomfortable. And then you guys had such a fun trip in LA that I was a little, I might have anger drove my way across the country while that was happening. I'm really excited to be here and to get to cover training camp just like I never left. But, I'll be gone again in a couple of weeks, so I'm just trying to enjoy the moment that I'm in.
But never gone though. We'll still have you in. We'll still be checking in, and you're still a big part of this, writing for us and everything like that. And I should tell you that I knew of you even before I came here to DNVR. I mean, you're a staple in the NHL, bud, and I know I was with multiple other teams for the last 9 years, but always knew who you were and always read everything you wrote. So it's nice to be able to get a chance to work with you.
I appreciate that. I'm excited. I think we have a really fun group to cover the Avs this year with a really such a different dynamic, and I'm really excited to see what we do as a group.
You'll be like the GM, the guy behind the scenes, not the guy behind the camera that we see every day.
I mean, we have a thing that we'll talk about here coming up soon, but we'll get to it.
Does anybody else want to chat on anything else wing line? I think there's a few more things we got to get to there before we move on to one other big topic.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that I want to call out just to keep in mind when you're watching these wing battles develop over training camp. Number one, Nikolai Kovalenko, he came over to play in the NHL. He would not have left Russia if he didn't think there was a real opportunity for him to play in the NHL. So
correct.
I expect him to get games, as AJ said, like a 98% chance. He's in the lineup.
Believe his out clause is if he's not in the NHL by December 1st, he can leave.
Yep. 2, Parker Kelly, the Avs signed him to a 2-year deal, including a one-way in that second year. It's hard to see a world where they did that to play him in the AHL the entire season.
Yep.
3, Oscar Olausson, in a bit of a weird spot. At times, he has not quite lived up to his expectations at a first-round pick. However, if you are looking for a skilled guy to fill in that top 6 wing spot that may be still available, either of them, he could be a guy that makes sense to slip into that role and give him an opportunity to show those skills in NHL games. I don't know that the Avs will go with that, but that is likely his path if he's going to make it. The bottom 6 role, more and more every day, looks like he might not be a fit for a role like that.
Can I just real quick on Oscar Olausson? That dude pisses me off. Pisses me off. His size, his skill, his talent level, he should be a bona fide. We're years into this. He should be a bona fide top 6 guy in the NHL. He's not even close.
What is it?
His level of engagement is way too low. He's too soft. He still plays on the perimeter. The rookie faceoff. This is not high level hockey. And he's still playing on the perimeter. He's not trying to cut to the net. He's not trying to get in close. He should be Andrei Burakovsky, but a little bit bigger. And instead, he will not engage enough to get into the harder areas of the ice where he can utilize his best asset, which is his shot. He has an NHL caliber shot, and he wants to take him from 25 feet away the entire time. It drives me crazy watching him just float around on the outside, lose puck battles. He will not engage. It is such a shame to watch this guy wasting all of that talent. It is so frustrating to me.
AJ just unknowingly made another Top Gun reference right there. He's like Maverick after Goose died. That's what you're saying.
I'm always Maverick after Goose died.
No, not you, Oscar.
I just have to. It was watching the face-off, watching him. I was just like, I was so frustrated.
If we're talking about check boxes, right? I was saying no, Cal did check the box. For me, he didn't check the box. I mean, I think he's starting behind the 8 ball again. When he goes, why are you putting so much stock into the rookie face-off? It's not about the rookie face-off.
Yeah.
It's about showing that you want it. And I didn't see it. Again, I don't know what we're going to see this week. I don't know what we're going to see in preseason games. I did not see it. I'm not being negative on anyone. I'm just being realistic right now. And when I'm looking at this, he should be salivating if I'm him, like, I want that spot. There's never in his career or in his past few years here in camp, never been more of a chance for him to jump on an opportunity and create that opportunity.
Nothing that happened in Los Angeles says that he should be given a shot over Jason Polin. The only difference between those guys,
100% agree.
The only difference between those guys, I guess two differences: age, and one was a first-round draft pick. That is it. But in terms of who they have been on the ice, even last year, and then at the rookie face-off in LA, Jason Polin should be ahead of him.
And that's why I'm talking about Olausen in that top 6 role.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't make as much sense for someone like Polin.
Definitely
If you
not.
want a bottom 6 winger, Polin should be ahead of Lausen on everybody's list.
What are you looking for before we move on to the decor? What are you looking for? Because I was impressed by him at the rookie face-off. What are you looking for, each of you, out of polls? What box does he have to come and check over the next week?
Okay, you're asking me right there. He checked the box last weekend.
Yep. When we said that's asking, he did that box.
Perfect. Do I think he's going to check the box next? Yes. Because do what you do best. Go out there, get noticed, force them to make decisions. Is he a sexy, shiny guy like a first-round pick like we talk about all the time about the silver spooners? He's not. But right now he's putting himself in that conversation because not once out there last weekend did you go, oh, wow, he didn't leave it out there. You know what I mean? Every shift he was noticed. Every shift he was the hardest working guy. I don't care that he's older at 25. He learned it, got his feet wet last year. And again, scored a goal in the NHL, got a game. This is a guy I think you're going to see a lot more this year. I think he gets it. I'm going to compare him to the type of getting it, Logan O'Connor. When Logan was in the American League, he understood the assignment. He got it. All of a sudden, you knew he was going to play games. And then once he played games, you knew he was going to stick around. So I think this is where he's at, obviously a little bit behind Logan O'Connor. But I think it's the same situation in the sense that you go out there, you be physical, use your speed, put your head down and go work. And this guy's going to be noticed a lot more than people think in this training camp.
And when we talk wings, I mean, he's competing directly with Yoel Kiviranta for a job. That's a fourth-line wing job. And Kiviranta would seem a shoe-in given the veteran status, given he played in the postseason. He was pretty good in the postseason. They brought him back, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But we know who Kiviranta is in the NHL. We have a pretty good idea of who Jason Polin would be in the NHL. But I think that should be a legitimate competition. Kiviranta wasn't so good for an extended stretch. You know, he had his moments in the series against Winnipeg where he looked great. But he wasn't so good throughout the course of his first season in Colorado. Good. That it should not be a slammed door on Jason Polin. He should be in that competition.
Almost the opposite for me. There's one thing I want to see from him in preseason, and this is going to be a running theme I've already talked about on the show. Can Jason Polin PK in the NHL?
I knew this was coming.
If Jason Polin can PK in the NHL, I think the conversation starts to become, we know he's going to get games in this year, but can he become an NHL regular if that guy can penalty kill? We know he has the physical aspect to his game. We know he was a scorer at previous levels, and he has a goal in the NHL. This is a guy who, he's not going to have a illustrious career. He might not even get to Eric Lacroix level numbers of career. But that's a guy who you can get a role out of. That's a guy who, in my mind, the bar is you need to be better than Yoel Kiviranta.
Okay, I'm going to jump into what you're saying because it's brilliant. It's brilliant because throw him out there. Throw him out there in preseason. Let's go. And again, I always tell you guys, I'm not cramping on like Jared Bednar. I'm not. But your first impression in life and everything and all that kind of stuff, that's why you can't take a practice off if you're a guy like that. Those practices are huge because if the coach or Nolan Pratt that's in charge of the PK or, all of a sudden they're like, oh, wow, you do something special in that PK in practice. And then all of a sudden they're like, hold on a second. You're opening eyes. You know what I mean? And you got to show that you want it, that you're willing to do it, and that you're going to thrive and actually cherish the opportunity to be part of something. It is something special when you're part of a PK group in the National Hockey League. You got to take pride in it. Logan O'Connor takes pride in it. They take pride. You can see on morning skate, they're not giving those guys on the PP an inch because they want to make sure that They're given the toughest opposition for the PP to be ready that night, So it's important to be part of that group. You got to cherish it. And again, find a nest, figure out what you are. This guy scored 30 butts in the college hockey. 30. Okay? But now he's not going to score 30 in the NHL. What are you? A plug. It's okay. We've talked about it before. Yeah. Nothing wrong with being a plug and understanding your role. I think this guy can get it.
And there should be zero loyalty to a penalty kill unit that was not good last year and is in flux. There's no Lehkonen. There's no Nichushkin. There's no Cogliano. The only guy that that's returning for sure that should have a job is Logan O'Connor. Everything else should be up for grabs.
Yep.
The coaching staff has to let Polin at least have a chance at it.
Yep.
Compete for it.
We're going to switch gears to the D, and we're going to do that right after this. Okay, so getting a little bit of help from the Toyota chat, and I'm not on my phone too much when we're doing this, but yes, their breaking news is Shillington sighting on the Avs Instagram. There's some headshots and some selfies. He's clearly in the building doing media work. So yeah, he is in town. So that takes away the potential notion of maybe there being visa issues or anything like that. Or perhaps they got resolved quickly, but yes.
Perfect.
He's in town.
I'm glad we don't have to talk about it anymore.
There we go. Exactly. Now let's talk about him as a defenseman.
Now let's do that. Let's switch there and let's start with him, AJ.
Great skater. I think the Avs now have 3 of the 5 best skating defensemen in the NHL with Cale Makar, Oliver Shillington, and Eric Brandstrom. With Shillington, it's... and Eric, you would know him much better than any of us, having been in Calgary when he was, but a really great skater, a solid puck mover. The offense has never fully come around the way that we were hoping it might when he was drafted and he was a top prospect. But he's turned himself into a quality NHL defenseman and has shown an acumen next to a really good defensive defenseman when he played alongside Chris Tanev in Calgary. So up and down career, but in Colorado, a great fit for how they play the game.
I would say for people that are not familiar with him, he's a 10 out of 10 as a skater. It's phenomenal. Like it's beautiful. It's beautiful to watch. It's effortless. It's simple. But you're right. When it comes down to puck skills and playmaking abilities, that is not his biggest attribute. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying he's terrible. I'm just saying it doesn't match up number-wise the same number as his skating ability. So with that said, for me, it's about opportunity. It's about knowing or jumping on an opportunity. In Calgary, he was a scratch like 40, 50 games. Next thing you know, Daryl Sutter, which I thought would not be his type of an advocate for Oliver Shillington. Next thing you know, Shillington's in the lineup, and he did it awesome. He made a name for himself, and he grabbed the opportunity and ran with it because Daryl gave him that opportunity, and the kid was waiting for it. You got to give him credit; he was ready for it, and he jumped on it. Now, I love the battling. That's when you look at that roster, there's clearly 8 names that can play, in the NHL. Only 6 dress. We all know 7 can dress. We all know that is not their favorite style of lineup for Bednar and Pratt and those guys. So, again, you got 8 guys, and you're going to say Malinsky. Well, I know he played well last year, 30 games. Sam, I don't have it in front of me, but he's a guy that I certainly not going to hurt you. I do believe he's an NHL defenseman. So I like the fact that Shillington brings competition. It brings competition for what? For PK minutes. It brings competition for minutes, basically, or getting dressed. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how he responds. I think he'll be ready to go.
Yeah, I think the numbers start to get a little bit tough for Malinsky, particularly for what is most likely a third pairing role. Someone like Jared Bednar, is going to like the experience. Both Shillington and Brandstrom have over 200 games in the NHL now, and obviously DeHaan is an extreme veteran at this point. So
gold.
It's all good. It's the reality. Extreme veterans are really good at hockey. Just look at Sidney Crosby.
Extreme veteran.
He is. It's just the truth. He's been in the league for 20 years. It is what it is. But you look at these guys, and I think it's interesting Because I don't know who has the inside track here. I think DeHaan is probably going to make the lineup just because he brings that different defensive acumen aspect to his game. But particularly between Branson and Shillington, I really don't have a good feel with which one is going to get that first crack at the lineup.
Yeah, they have such similar strengths.
Different bodies.
And they've both played both sides. They both have played left and right in the NHL. Their versatility, I mean, you're talking about such a similar profile here that it's like, great, we're going to put them both out there and we're just going to see last man standing kind of thing. DeHaan should have an inside track to the old Jack Johnson job. And then who he plays next to is going to be, Brandstrom, Shillington. Both of those guys are such great fits for how the Avalanche play that it's reasonable to think that whichever guy gets the bulk of those minutes is going to have a great year.
I'm a big DeHaan fan. I've said it 1,000 times, and I will again. I think there's a lot of things that he brings to the table. I thought that your comparison to him filling in the gaps that, maybe Jack Johnson didn't have, and obviously they brought DeHaan in to fill those holes and obviously fill the hole of Johnson is good. And then you bring in the leadership and you bring in the experience. And he's had some pretty powerful teammates over the years. He's taken a lot of influence from Justin Williams, who we know was great in L.A. and in Washington and in Carolina. And then he was very close with Seabrook and Keith and Taves and Kane in Chicago. So there's a lot of things that he might be that extreme veteran, but he's a kind of guy that picks and pulls things from other people, right? So he's been in a lot of rooms where he's learned a lot of different skills and a lot of different nuances. And I think he's going to be able to bring that into this Avalanche locker room, also in the current absence of Landeskog. I'm not saying he's a captain. I'm just saying that there's a quiet leadership to Calvin that I think is going to help.
I'm going to give him flowers here. I'm going to give it to Nolan Pratt. I don't care what people say. I think everybody that comes in here, they look good in an Avalanche uniform. They do on D. I mean, they do. And I think Prater does a great job. I think we always talk about Bednar and all that stuff, which is normal. Comes with the seat, right? You're at the top. But I tell you one thing, Nolan Pratt does an unbelievable job at the D's and the way he, they want them. I mean, he knows what Bednar. He's been with them for so long. He knows the way what Jared Bednar wants, and it's a great combo. And I think that those guys are in great hands. And like you said, whoever's gonna get the inside track quicker than the other is gonna get that spot, but then you have to keep that spot. And then you have to, perform every day to make sure you're in that lineup. And I love the competition that's being brought this camp and this season on the back end.
And I will say with the defensive battle, even if you end up as the 7th or 8th defenseman, not only will you get in games this year, there's a pretty good chance you start on the NHL roster this year. Someone like Shillington, they're not going to send down. There's no shot that guy gets through waivers. Even someone like Malinsky, I think you're taking a risk if you try and send him through.
Yeah, and with their cap situation, they might just have to carry 12-8.
Yep.
Because they may not be able to carry that extra 23rd player.
That's my expectation.
And if you're leaning towards, hey, we're going to try and carry a 13th forward or an 8th defenseman, I'm going to try and keep Sam Malinsky over Chris Wagner.
And this is where I'm so glad Dermy's not here, because you guys would be all over it right now. You'd be all over my case. Say, we can't keep Dermy. Good soldier. He was a good soldier for the Avalanche. Shout out to him, by the way.
Couple things as we get to the end of this one is we got a hustle down to Family Sports Center. What do you guys think of where Rance fits in the lineup? Is it the first or is it the second line?
I got my answer. I'm going to wait for you guys.
Where do I think they put him? The first line. Where do I think he should be, particularly at the start of the year? I wonder if you drop him on that second line and let him be that engine for a line that's going to have a who knows on that other wing. It could be a Ross Colton. It could be a Nikolai Kovalenko. It could be a Parker Kelly. There's going to be, and this is nothing against any of those guys. Those guys are middle six guys at best, not top six guys. And they're going to need a little bit of extra help, and that's something that Mikko could potentially do for them.
Okay. AJ, how about you?
And that's
then
where
we'll finish with E.
You could also put Cal Ritchie next to Nathan McKinnon and have Mikko next to Casey Middlestat to try and balance your top six a little bit and be a little less top heavy. So
yep.
that's, you're trying to play your roster math. How do you best maximize those top two lines? That's probably how you do it. But, I would start there because I want to take a look at it. We know what Drouin, McKinnon, and Rantanen looks like.
It's pretty good.
Plenty of data on that. Use the beginning of the season. Your roster is in flux. This is a great excuse to try some things out that you might need later on in the season that you, if you were fully healthy, would not otherwise give full burn to.
And this is a conversation that leads into the next thing I know you're about to mention here, but when you're trying this, is it we're trying this for 5 games and then Lecky is back? We're trying this for 10 games and then Lecky is back? How much time do they have to really try stuff? Depends on that Lehkonen situation.
Which is where I was going next.
But I'm going to go back to it. Like, this is what I'm hoping for. This is what I'm hoping for, okay? You said it. Drouin, Mac, Rantanen, we all know that works. We all know that works. All 3 are smart, veteran players. It's like putting your socks on, and it's all good. Y'all know what to do. Y'all know how to do it. That's why I would like to put a tape tonight in Bednar's bedroom and just press play and let it go. Like, split them up. You know what I mean? Then he comes to the office tomorrow because he hasn't thought about that all summer, right? It's his first time he's going to think about that. Sarcasm here in case people think
Did you ever
I'm
do that
stupid.
when you were a kid learning something in school? Did you ever record the notes and play them at night? I did that all the time.
We all know he's thought about it. We all know those guys is one of the best coaching staff in the NHL, so I'm not worried about it. But this is what, if I was coach for a day, I would split up McKinnon and Rantanen. I just would. I think Middlestat with Mikko would be deadly.
I think so too.
And I think again, you have to. And I'm going by C-Mac's end of the year, Chris McFarland's end of the year words, where we're gonna have to be creative. We're gonna have to figure out things out. Things haven't changed. There's still a lot of question marks on Gabe and Val. So and once you have that, then that's why for me, I go and split them up and see how it does, and then experiment with it. And then if you don't feel good by game 1, then you're the head coach. You decide. But I wouldn't be worried like, oh, their chemistry's gone now. Their chemistry's all good. They'll be fine. But experiment for training camp.
We're coming up with inception plots now to get the lineup where we need to be.
We're trying to.
I'm interested to see what happens if, and I'm not the naysayer, but I'm interested to see what happens for the Avalanche mostly this year with the cap.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just, I'm very interested to see how this plays out. And I know, and we've talked about this, I know they have a plan B and a C and a D and an E and all the other letters in the alphabet, probably all the way to Z. But I'm really interested to see, A, when does it play out? And B, how does it play out? And then C, I really want to know what plan B is.
I want to know what plan A is.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know. I mean, this is just such a strange situation
So
for everybody
strange.
involved that
So strange.
I'm fully expecting the Avs to kind of suck for the first 10, 20 games of the year. I'm like,
There's uncertainty, though,
just
right?
go 500.
There's uncertainty in the lineup.
Exactly. You have no idea because if in the perfect world where you get those 3 guys back, one of those guys is now on your third line, and you're like, this is pretty good. And you feel very differently about that roster. But in the event that you don't get any of those guys back, which would be like the Armageddon level event there, very unlikely. Lekkonen's fine. It's just he's not.
Yeah.
He's not 100% yet. He should not miss very much time.
That's not an if for me. That's a win.
Yeah, he's the one you feel the most secure about.
100%.
You're like 5 games in, we're probably done talking about this.
Yeah.
But until he's back, that's why we have that lineup without him in it, is because that's the world we live in now. But I have no idea what the plan is. I just don't know.
I wonder if they know what the plan is. I know they have. I'm sure they have ideas. I'm sure they have concepts
of a plan, baby.
But there's just still so many unknowns about this situation that they can only have so much ready.
And of course, on top of it, don't want people in the chat to think that we forgot about goaltending. We didn't forget about it. We all know that the 2 roster spots are going to be Georgiev and Annunen, or go read AJ's article. Does talk about it. Talk about some concepts that maybe something happens there. But at the end of the day, right now under contract, obviously those 2 names are there. That's why we didn't put them out there, because it's just 1 and 2 right now as we speak.
Yep.
So much to talk about, and we will talk about it, of course, all week long. We will be coming to you from the Family Sports Center. If you're there, please come, say hello. I can't wait to start meeting some of y'all. Make sure you got your notifications there. Make sure you're liking. Make sure you're subscribing. And the Toyota chat was fire today. And a big shout out to Marie in the super chat, throwing $20 to say welcome back to AJ Course Time. We got a bucket of beers right here. I will make sure he drinks all of them.
Oh, no.
Responsibly, but I will make sure he drinks all of them. Hey, listen, thank you guys all so much. Those comments were actually super heartwarming, and it's really cool. Thank you guys for giving our rock star, the GOAT, AJ, all the love in there. We got a real fun week ahead of you, like a ton of fun, and lots of other special features and things coming up. We still got a couple more things left from the Rookie Face-Off that we're going to roll out, so make sure you are sticking with us. And thank you so much for being the best fans out there. Make sure you're a diehard if you're not. Tiffany, great job. You're a rock star as always. Heads up for Rudo. He's a rock star. E, you're pretty good too. I'm not going to lie. And of course, AJ, I'm Gizmo. Thanks for watching. We will see you tomorrow from the Toyota Sports Center. Night.
We all silly like the mayor.